Hello.
Here.
Last episode, I was literally like, "We've been so punctual lately. Nice job." And we were 2 minutes late on this.
We're
one.
2 minutes late on
whole
this one.
90 seconds or something.
Oh my God, the world's gonna end, everybody. That's exactly what's gonna happen. So we are here. We are here tonight. It's a Tuesday. We're talking cryptids. We do have a drinking game. We might as well address it right at the beginning since we all are very aware about it now. Drinking game is anybody says somebody. Anybody? Ooh, I've been drinking a little bit already. Okay.
We pre-gamed just a touch.
Sorry.
She's a liar.
Marijuana
When
as
anyone
well.
says swamp, I will alert the Bigfoot Sasquatch shenanigans over here that says drink, and everyone take a drink of your drink.
Exactly.
We're gonna be saying that a lot, I think, tonight.
Come on.
We are.
I
We're
got
gonna
my
be
own
saying that
cryptid
shit
in my
then.
corner. He won't leave
Your
me
sh-
alone.
Your stinky cryptid.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. All right, so
doesn't
Bobby, what cryptid are we talking about tonight?
What a wonderful question, Jamie. We're gonna go into the deep south this evening and
Deep South.
cover what is popularly known as the Honey Island Swamp Monster, also known as the Cajun Sasquatch, perhaps a derivative of the swamp ape of oh shit. Did I say swamp ape?
Drink.
Did I say swamp ape? That's 2 sips for you.
Shoot.
2 for you.
This is
It's all going downhill from here, guys.
Honey
What's on? We have a
Island
great episode coming.
Honey Island Monster, also known as the Louisiana Wookiee in some vernaculars. The Bayou
Yes.
Beast, the
Yes.
ape, and
You're cheating. You're fucking
No, I love
cheating.
that.
no, I'm going. You guys know what I mean when I say that.
Okay.
Found mostly in Slidell, Louisiana, and Central Louisiana. We will probably, the title of this episode is Honey Monster Ape. However, we're probably going to get into a little bit of the lore of just the region's version of the swamp Sasquatch.
Ooh. That was my werewolf
Drink.
drink
Swamp.
call. I feel like I should do that from now on.
So here's the thing about this goddamn monster. So let's just start off the episode by saying that this is yet again, we've been on a roll the last few weeks, another version of Sasquatch or Bigfoot, just that is specific to the region of Louisiana, specifically the swamp area.
Louisiana.
Yeah, go ahead and drink.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Oh.
So, Bobby, this beast, I think like most Bigfoot have the characteristics. So let's just start off with the characteristics it has that are like Bigfoot, because there are some that are not like Bigfoot.
Agreed. And that's one of the main reasons we want to go into these regional ones is to, collect the motifs, but also, pick up on the differences, if that makes sense. And so far in our little adventure through the various regional Sasquatches, I feel like have a list of both.
Mhm.
And here comes the Honey Island Monster of Louisiana. 6 to 7 foot tall, so maybe a little bit shorter than the typical
Average.
Bigfoot sighting. Reddish hair or grayish hair.
Which is interesting that we hear gray, because I haven't heard gray too many times when we've been talking about these things.
Yeah, you'll hear it from time to time when it's like they're always like, it was an older one, so it was gray, like Gandalf, and you're like, what? But yeah,
Makes no
sometimes,
sense.
and then there's white ones in like Pennsylvania and stuff. But reddish is a pretty common.
Whoa, we'll get to Pennsylvania.
I love Pennsylvania for high strangeness. I've only been to the Philadelphia airport, but I love Pennsylvania.
Listen,
I
one
like that
day when
airport.
we're
It's like
listen, one
it's
day
like
when
a
we're
bus
bankrolled by
station.
Netflix, I'll take you there. Okay.
Awesome. Anyway, yeah, reddish hair, grayish hair. One of the more famous accounts, which we'll talk about, describes it as having gray hair. Half man, half ape. Pretty typical of a Sasquatch-like creature. I have seen in this particular instance, I feel like, and correct me if you think I'm making this up in my own head, I feel like there was a lot of distinctions between or people pointing out that it had like a very human-like bear face, and it almost like it just had long hair and then long stringy hair. It was like, what's ironic is the description of it seems to be more human in the face, right?
Yes, and it was very similar to like the last one we researched, where it was like this long hair that was matted that maybe made it look like it was fur, but more specifically that it was hair and not fur. Like that's what people talked about when they talked about their description of it. They didn't say it had fur; they said it had hair.
Right, and what's ironic about that is like the swamp ape mythos oftentimes is more leans more on it possibly being like some sort of actual monkey or ape or escaped creature or pet, more ape-like, I guess is what I'm getting at. And what's interesting about the accounts of these Honey Island monsters is that their face is often described as being more humanoid.
I shouldn't have picked the word fucking swamp because
it's just easy to not
being used.
Say it. All right,
I shouldn't have picked it.
Stick of that, Bobby. All right, so what about, so we went over the hair. What about the eyes?
Amber. Often amber or red eyes. Red eyes you see pretty often. Go ahead.
Which is interesting because there's a little bit in this folklore that dips into maybe that the reason that it has specifically red, amber, or yellow eyes is because it's maybe reptilian related.
Yeah, yes, it's possible. And I might as well take that segue, Jamie, and say one of the stranger origin stories of the Honey Island swamp monster is that a train wreck allegedly occurred near the Pearl River in the early 20th century. According to the legend, the train was full of exotic animals traveling from a traveling circus. It derailed into the swamps. Most of the creatures died, but the legend goes that the chimpanzees managed to escape and interbreed with the local alligators of the region, resulting in a colony of reptilian-like mammals. I like how the article I found on that said, however, this is impossible because monkeys and alligators cannot interbreed.
Cannot interbreed. I found the same thing.
But it's
man, people didn't know shit back then.
But it's super important to bring this up, though, because the one distinction that we have between Bigfoot and the swamp monster, go ahead and drink to that one.
You didn't even say Honey Island. You just went with swamp monster.
Is it has, per se, they say like webbed feet. It doesn't have a Bigfoot like a person, like these big toes and the arches, but more you're seeing like a web scenario and they only have 4 toes instead of 5.
Now, I don't want to jump the gun here with Factor Sci-Fi, but would you guys consider webbed 3 toes on what's claimed to be a Sasquatch creature a more in the leaning you towards fact or leaning you towards sci-fi?
So here's my thing about it. It makes sense to me because you are in a swamp-like area. And if this happened in the late 20th century, let's just say that you have a very sped up evolution process, because you do have to say that monkeys and reptiles have been bred together. So we have to live in that world where any of this is possible. You would have to imagine that this specific breed would be webfoot because of the environment that it lives in. So it makes sense, which is on that track. And one of the explanations for why it has these web feet is exactly that it evolved into having it because of that, or it has it because it's half alligator, so it has the genetics for it.
I was going to say it could have just been interbreeding with chimpanzees.
Exactly.
But still, that would almost be like evolution. Let's just say it's like the first, time a Sasquatch-ish or whatever, a chimpanzee mated with an alligator, crocodile. Wouldn't that also make sense? Like
exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like so if we're talking, if we're living in the reality of sci-fi, then like sure, like all of those things make sense. So I wouldn't say that it makes me go one way or another with that specific fact because it's very on track for the story. Now, if a Bigfoot had web feet inside of like fucking like Washington in the mountains, I'd be like, that doesn't make any sense to me. You're confusing.
Right. That's an interesting take because I saw that as an immediate red flag. However, I see how you can make the like evolutionary argument.
We're like
but my mind goes
rationalize it. We're like,
there are
no.
there are well, this is what we do, right?
Mhm.
There are aquatic like apes, I guess, that live around water and swim. Like I don't
Yeah,
know.
Brie?
I guess they do. Yo,
I was going to say that according to some people,
mhm.
we evolved as aquatic apes.
Oh, yes, that's very true.
Yes, the old mermaid aquatic ape theory.
So
It's true.
I don't. I
Yeah.
buy it. I mean,
There
you
was
said it right there, and I'm like,
there was a documentary on I want to say like
Nova.
Animal Planet or something like that, probably about 15 years ago about aquatic ape theory. But at the end of it, they were like,
Nova.
this was all a joke. Like
Fake.
this isn't a real documentary. But I was like, oh my
What?
God, mermaids are real. And
No, only half of them said it wasn't. And that's like with anything I feel like that comes out, it's like, this is the truth. And then they all come out and say, no, it's not. And then it's half the people that say yes. And it's just, I think they're to be put in front of you so that you're confused.
yeah, could be like a disinformation campaign.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
To throw us off the scent of real life webbed mammal mermaid
I
types.
subscribe to aquatic apes. It fucking makes sense. Think about it.
It does make sense.
So, this is what we got on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. We got a swamp aquatic ape.
Drink.
One thing I will say about the Bigfoots of this region, especially, a lot of the prints do come up with like 3 or 4 digits on the foot, and they often attribute that to like low population requires inbreeding. Inbreeding creates
Deformities.
Deformities, things like that.
You know what? Can I?
Yep.
Listen, I'm gonna have to say, so far,
Mhm.
it seems like this specific cryptid has a lot of like backup stories and explanations on explanations. It seems like people have attacked it from every goddamn which way. You know what I mean? Like for everything you bring up, there seems to be something that we can counter with. Well, like and like yeah, like a rebuttal. Like it's like they already have this all planned out per se. Like they have all these answers and these talking points and these hitting things. I say they, but it's us.
Sus. Us is sus.
Well, the whole webbed feet thing in some of the depictions of this thing seem to be literally a drawing of like a hybrid between a ape and a alligator or a crocodile or whatever, alligator, I guess. And it's very similar to what's the dinosaur we did last week with bottled water?
Mokopambe.
Before that, it was the Kokomamba.
Mokopambe.
If you recall in that episode, a lot of the descriptions were kind of like these weird like combinations of the animals and things like that. I got those kind of vibes when I was reading about the hybridization between alligators and apes, vis-a-vis the Honey Island swamp ape.
Question specifically. Oh, swing. Specifically, if they did mate with each other, would the Honey Island swamp monster drink come from an egg, or would it have been given birth from the monkey?
It's a question that's plagued mankind since someone discovered.
I had to really think about that. I was like, how would these yeah.
I would say I like the ideas of weird reptilian monkeys hatching out of eggs. That's what I would prefer.
That's what makes sense to me.
Rather than anyway.
That is an interesting thought. ETs are us from the future, Sasquatch stuff from the past.
ETs are us from the future, Sasquatch is us from the past. If you're gonna read it, Brie, read it out loud.
Oh no, I'm just.
It's a good one. I like it.
I've had wow. That just blew my goddamn mind, to be honest.
I know.
No,
sorry.
Me too. I'm trying to put it together.
I'm trying to take a beat for a second.
I was like, I mean, realistically, it kind of makes sense if you think of in the sense of like, if you have like the missing link is the Sasquatch, that's us from the past, and aliens are us, the more evolved version from the future, looking back on the past, and we're also looking. It's like a Inception on Inception kind of big shit.
fuck yeah.
Bigfoot
Let's
shit, big
fucking
shit.
party, Jamie.
I'm sorry.
All right,
that was just like, yeah,
where were
deep.
we? Where were we?
Sorry.
We're talking about
back.
the tonight's
I
the
love the
tonight's
chat, but
episode.
sometimes I think that they sidetrack us so bad.
Yeah, we get off the
'cause
rails.
We're always
I like-
looking this way and we're concentrating on that.
Hey, I say if it feels right, go with it.
I feel you. All right, so
Ooh.
we were talking about
bet you
this
say that.
goddamn thing and if it came out of eggs or not. It probably did come out of eggs, but what we're wrapping it
Word.
back up to is the next part of the story is realistically where
Yes.
the origins are. And you briefly talked about how, the train came and the monkeys, whatever. But another possible theory I've heard, although it's not very well researched because there's not a lot about it on the internet, is there's like fleeting passes of saying like, oh, well, Native Americans have talked about a monster coming from the swamp for years.
Always.
And of
I
course,
feel like that's like so applicable to so many things.
And that's what I'm saying. I think that this is one of those
For better or
instances
worse.
that's this happening because there wasn't like a specific, like, here, go follow this story. This tribe said this. It was just kind of like a roundabout being like, well, the Native Americans had lore about it. So sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
and
it was like
also-
the creature man. I think that's what they call it. The creature
the,
man.
Creature man, yeah.
The Acadians that came from France that traveled down to Cajun country, they had the Rougarou, which was basically the French dog man or the werewolf.
Sounds like the Roomba.
And oftentimes you'll see these that term interchanged with the swamp ape. So it's almost like that was a legend they brought down with them, and then they actually saw something in the woods that reminded them of that, so they applied that term
To it,
oh,
exactly.
it must be the Rougarou, not a Honey Island swamp monster or whatever you want to call it. So I thought that was interesting too. So it's almost like a derivative, like transitioning from one lore into the next, from the old world to, you know what I mean? So anyway, I guess what really gave birth to the legend of the Honey Island swamp monster
Ooh, you got a drink.
Ooh, drink.
would be the first official sighting reported in August of 1963. You got Harlan Ford, you got Billy Mills. Harlan Ford, I believe, was a former air traffic controller. according to my research. Retired. They were out hunting. Do we have a map by chance?
Yeah, let me go back to the map.
By the way, this is in Louisiana, if we never mentioned it.
Louisiana.
I don't know if we did, to be honest.
We didn't. We're ass.
There you go.
We're just ass.
So this is generally like in the Slidell area, I guess, which is just like northeast of New Orleans. But then you have all kinds of swamp ape lore all throughout, especially the western side of Louisiana and deep in the swamps and things like that. So
Drink twice.
This particular instance, the Honey Island swamp monster drink involved again Harlan Ford and Billy Mills. They were out hunting, came across a creature standing over a dead boar with its throat ripped out.
Wait, ooh, skirt, you're going way too forward in time.
Oh, please.
They actually saw it before then. Specifically, he was flying a plane over the area.
Yes.
He was a wilderness photographer, and they noticed a clearing in an area that had some sort of like a campy kind of setup. And they were like, this is way too remote for somebody to be out here. So they found somewhere to land, and they went over there, and they said that they saw this creature, and they just stared at it, and then it like disappeared. And that was their very first sighting of it. And then later is the second time that you're talking about, where they happened to go back to that same area. They were duck hunting at the time.
My apologies.
It's okay. Right. It's okay.
You're absolutely right.
I know.
You want to just finish this off here, Bree? I'm sorry, Jamie.
I will. Okay, so they go to this. No, I'll let you go. No, I did the first part. You do the second. You go for it.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, go for it, Bobby.
Yeah, so I mean that's pretty much it, right?
But you go ahead with the second story of when they came upon the boar.
They saw the boar, and they were like, "Who would leave this carcass?
They came amongst the boar,
not eat it."
And that's when they saw the creature again, right?
Yep.
Long, dingy gray hair, 400 pounds, 7 feet tall, slender legs, large chest and shoulders. There's those big ambered eyes again as well. And what ultimately ends up happening is what you'll see a lot of times, a lot of people are either uninterested or unaware of the existence of these types of creatures, and then after they have their first encounter, they more or less get captivated, or their soul almost gets haunted by their fascination with it, or their need to, figure out more about it and discover what it is. Ford was one of these guys. He's pretty much captivated by the whole experience. He spends the next 10 years collecting evidence.
I'm going to play real quick a video of him describing one of his instances with the Bigfoot, or swamp monster, as we'll call it. Drink.
Harlan Ford is a retired air traffic controller who has lived near the swamp for 20 years.
Going to the camp, pitching through this ravine right here is where we found where it had been leading off of this ridge, coming right through this little ravine bottom on this wet ground. And this is where we first found its tracks, and it was watering about 50 yards over at this creek over here. And at no time did we find any tracks where it had gone in the water. But once it would get to this water's edge, just as a bear would do or something, then I guess it would let down to drink. And that's when we would find the heavy clawed front feet of this creature. One evening late, just about dusk dark, a friend of mine, we encountered eyes. They were yellow or ambrish colored, real wide apart. So this friend of mine, Jim Hartzog, he took a gun and went into this area and to try to kill whatever it was. And he says that he came face to face with this thing. It looked something like about 7 foot tall. And he fired on it with using a headlight. He said when he did, the eyes went out. Probably what happened, it turned and ran, and he shot at it one more time. And but we went back the next day and checked for sign and blood, but we didn't find any. So we figured Jim missed it that night. The last sign that we've had, or anybody has had, of this creature, and this is within the last 4 months, was on the sandbar where the thing crossed the river, crossed the sandbar, and left footprints on it. That was found by a member of the Louisiana Wildlife and Fish Commission. And that's been the very last contact we've had with it in this area.
So,
in search of.
In search of Leonard Nimoy. That was the episode, finding in search of swamp monsters. So go ahead and drink to that.
Oh.
But it's interesting because he had, one of the things that he was known for were these Bigfoot castings. And one of the things he found on that duck hunting trip was a footprint. And at the time they didn't cast it, but they ended up going out later that night and casting the footprint with their friends. And they had this footprint. And one of the other things that happened with Mr. Ford is he had like all this evidence of these creatures like up in his attic, and they weren't found until after his passing. And it was interesting because a lot of people accused him of being like a hoaxer and like a bullshitter and like just chasing the story. But it's interesting that if he had this evidence, why he didn't talk about it when he was alive.
Right. Like if he was a true hoaxer, you feel like he would show everyone the goods,
Exactly.
I did watch a very small Monster Quest episode or whatever on this, and they were saying it's because he knew it was all bullshit.
Oh, and that's why
so
he didn't
didn't bring.
They were hot on his trail, and he's like, this racket is over. So here's the famous Harlan Ford video.
Mm-hmm.
Very reminiscent. One of the big criticisms with this is it's very reminiscent of trying to ape, no pun intended, the Patterson-Gimlin film.
Yep.
So you can just kind of see a dark figure walking in the background here and there, to and fro. And I think anyone that's watched Bobby's Cryptid Corner will know how I would like to respond to this. It's just like, that could be fucking anything. But
literally. Not only could it be anything, but it's so badly done.
Bigfoot evidence. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like you said, Jamie, it seems like people were relatively okay with not giving this guy the benefit of the doubt, people that knew him, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, no.
He
I
must have
understand that.
been. I don't know. That
It's
sounds
one of
like
those
a
things.
character, you know.
I
gotta
feel like, and
trust.
whether this guy's like a hoaxer or not, like I don't know the dude, I don't know the family, I don't know any of that. But like, I feel like there is a thing that happens with people that go really deep into this, and they're so sure that it's real that in some weird way it kind of drives them to the point of like, you know what? I know
Yes.
it's real, so I can rationalize and justify this hoax to
Mm-hmm.
get people to accept what I know is real. And ultimately, a lot of times that seems to backfire.
Mm-hmm.
So then what about the point where the granddaughter gets brought in and she takes over his legacy in a way?
What about it?
Well, I feel like all the stuff that we've seen is from her, is from Dana Ford.
Yeah.
Yes, it seems
Not him.
And that's the interesting point that we're bringing up here. Like, why is it that after he's gone, all of these things it seems to be pushing for it now? Is it the fact that she just saw the hoax and was able to continue it on and do it in today's modern world? You know what I mean? And maybe her mom wasn't into it because her mom maybe grew up with the guy. You know, my dad was the Bigfoot, guy, and I didn't want to deal with that. But now her granddaughter's into it. I mean, it kind of tracks and makes sense.
Yeah,
And here's
I don't.
here's the thing. Wait, and here's the thing I do want to say. It's not that we're saying all Bigfoot are bullshit. Let me just say that going out there, going forward, and we're not saying Bigfoot are not real. We're just specifically saying that we're talking about the specific swamp monster of Louisiana and the credibility of what it could be. Drink.
And to be frank, there's honestly almost more hoax skepticism explanations of this one, more than there is actual lore behind it, and we'll get to that. But yeah, Harlan Ford, his granddaughter, kind of took up the torch. Her name's Dana Holyfield, and is now kind of the guru, local expert on the Honey Island swamp monster. And I'm not so cynical to the point where I think, someone's going to just like pick up the hoaxing torch of their grandfather to
I agree.
continue the hoax.
I don't think this is a hoax.
I think that's kind of shitty. Like I said, there might be the possibility that perhaps he got so obsessed with it that, maybe he did fabricate some evidence here and there.
For sure.
I can't just immediately be like, hey, like this is all bullshit because I heard from locals that maybe he was kind of full of shit. That makes sense.
Well, I will say
totally.
that the locals have really embraced this creature, though, and it's a huge source of revenue and income for many of like the tourist traps that are out there. And like, one
that
of these
definitely
things
throws another red flag up, right?
Yeah. So there's these swamp tours, the Honey Island swamp monster tours and things like that. And so it's interesting because if it is just a hoax. Everybody in the area is in on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, but I think that there's examples of that though. Like even if things are a hoax or not a hoax, or if part of the town believes it and the other part of the town doesn't believe it, like even in those instances, like if it incentivized the town, you're going to fuel the lore and the legend in some way to build a little tourist economy or throw the Bigfoot barbecue festival or whatever it is, every year, that kind of thing.
Which is cool.
They kind of take on the I know, I agree. Like, I don't think
I love that. Yeah. No, I agree
with capitalizing, but I guess that my point is I don't think it requires everyone to quote unquote like be in on it, but it requires everyone to see the benefit of embracing it.
Okay, I'll agree with you on that one. Yeah, B. Yeah.
I believe her interest is for the actual story itself. I feel like watching her say that most of the stories were just word of mouth and it got out of hand, but then when she was able to read the actual diaries, in a sense, the actual letters of what he went through, that she was able to find or determine what she believed to be real from his writings. And I appreciate that. She could have just gone off of the lore. She could have fed off of that. She could have made up her own stuff. But I believe that because she found the actual writings, and because she talks about those, that it brings a little bit of credibility to the story in general and her purpose for wanting to continue the search for this swamp drink monster.
So it's almost like documenting an interesting story is not the same thing as like exploiting a hoax.
I believe so, and I think if you,
I mean, okay, wait.
I feel like
on
the
that same
line,
note,
line
then,
is really thin. Hold
I mean,
on.
that's kind
the
of
line is really thin with
Mhm.
when it comes to real story and trying to make revenue because you're doing something,
Sure.
and then also the money aspect taking over.
Yeah.
And we as a society are extremely critical of those situations.
Mm-hmm.
And in a sense that I wish that we weren't, but I understand it's because money kind of feeds our drives for things sometimes. But in certain cases, I feel like we should just let prosperity flow.
I am totally with you.
Through interest,
I do not.
There's
I do not
interest.
think that it's like wrong of areas to embrace this kind of stuff, to to create a lore around their town and even commercialize it to some degree. You think about things like Roswell or just the Pacific Northwest in general. It's like or a lot of those little towns that embrace Bigfoot. They all play up that stuff, but there's plenty of people that think Roswell is legitimate. There's plenty of people that think Bigfoot is a real thing, or even the Honey Island swamp monster. So it's like that almost like it's not exclusive to only hoaxes will be embraced to create a lore around a specific area. It's going to be actually more likely the exact opposite, right?
Mm-hmm.
Completely. Yeah, totally. Oh, can I also just mention that their campus where Dana is at now is Goat Island.
Stop.
Swear.
Wow.
In Louisiana, they're Goat Island.
I love that. We should go there.
Then I'm going to try to claim it. I'm going to try to buy them off. That's just going to be a disaster for all of us.
So Ford did actually collect some casts of some three-toed footprints, and some of them seemingly webbed. One of them, I believe, has like a little extra nubby digit on it. Do we have any pictures of that?
There's a picture here on the slide.
Where, Brie? End, beginning.
Me, no.
Well, that's not helpful.
It's fine. It's right there.
There you go.
I just click through.
That little side thing right there you're talking about?
Yeah, that little... you can't see my mouse, but
it's like an amputated toe. It's like that can't possibly serve purpose.
I'm also no alligator expert, but I feel like that could be like a remnant or like part of an alligator cast. But I feel like that would have come up when they tested it, though.
So
somebody, you know what? I'm gonna look that up.
So, as somebody who lived in Louisiana for a little bit of time and saw some alligators, I'm gonna say that this looks a lot like an alligator footprint and their big fat weird arms.
Okay.
You best stop, honey, because I also lived with the alligators, and I tell you that it ain't no 3 foot. No, not at all.
Maybe it was an alligator that had part of its hand bit off.
No, baby.
Yeah, who knows? Or it's just like had its little nub there, like dug into the
too much sweet
or claw dug into the mud or whatever.
Or they just didn't cast
it. There's 5 fingers.
But here's the wrench. Here's the wrench in the gear, though. They sent us off to LSU and the game warden and whatnot, and they couldn't identify what it was. So I don't
credibility to the stars.
Just give.
However,
vibe.
Is it not true that when the casts were sent, that we were still in the 70s era?
Yeah, like
I'm not trying to discredit anything above the
late 70s, early 80s. No, it's late 70s, early 80s times. Yeah.
I will say that
better
the science
stuff today
that we have is so much more improved. Who's to say if they, I don't know, are maybe someone would reopen that cave.
I don't know.
A gator's foot looks like that too. See, a frog foot.
It don't, baby. I'm gonna pull up a pic right now.
It's a big fucking frog, though.
Apparently, alligator arthritis is a growing problem in the community, defunct dinosaur community.
So I'm gonna go ahead and just spoiler a little bit right here that if I'm in the fact arena with the Honey Island swamp monster, I'm going to embrace the reptilian chimpanzee hybrid part of it.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
I don't
All
like
right.
the idea of it being just another southern Bigfoot. I want him to be part.
If he's gonna be something, let it be special. I get you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I like it. You want to distance him from Bigfoot. Okay.
Oh my god, I wish I never looked this up.
So it's interesting you say that, because it's almost like there are legitimate, there are lores of swamp apes through this region just in general throughout the South, and then you have the alligator, and then you have the rougarou, and it's like all kind of combining into this lore, right? Just pulled from seemingly real things in the world. So I guess not the werewolf, or is it?
Or is
but
it?
the other I guess second most famous witness of the Honey Island swamp monster is this guy Ted Williams.
Yes.
Who basically saw this creature like quite a few times. I'm going to play another clip from that classic episode of In Search Of.
Please do. I know exactly what you're talking about. Let's get it. Yes.
So
You
the
already
one that
have it
feeds
queued
the
up?
alligators.
Hold on a second.
It's all good. Take your time. We've got.
Oh, I started
all
looking at the
time.
alligator things. I'm not seeing what I wanted to see, but I'm seeing what I didn't want to see, if that makes any sense.
Is
Exactly.
that
I just love
You guys see
alligators.
that?
I don't know why you guys would want to hurt them.
are you guys ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Yeah, hit me.
Okay.
Hit
I
me.
can't see anything other than this video, so okay.
Oh, go for it. It's okay. Ooh, there's no audio.
Oh, I knew you were
We
going to
don't
say
need
that.
it, do we?
You forgot to share the audio. Yeah, that's.
Can
the
I
whole point.
narrate? Oh god damn it, Bobby.
Bobby, I'm gonna remove
Oh
it. You're gonna
my
have to
God.
add it again, but add it with the audio, my love.
Oh my god.
Actually, Bree
Can
is in the.
you play a hate crime real quick for that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's 100% one of those.
I got it ready to go. You guys ready?
Yes, I add it now.
I just needed one hate crime to get it fixed up right.
Get it fixed up. There you go. We can hear it now.
Day, it appeared he'd been trapped himself.
First time I ever saw it was standing plumb
Is he
still
barefoot?
on a trap line.
They don't wear shoes in
I
Louisiana.
stopped at
Never.
realized it stump. I knew it wasn't supposed to be there. And it run. When I stopped, it run. And it was a dark gray, about 7 foot high.
Another dark gray
It
account.
jumped about. That's the first sighting I ever saw. The next time I seen him, was they swim in the river. 2 of them. And one of them was bigger than the other, and one of them was faster than the other, and they swim just like a human. Them long overhand strokes. I tried to get one of them to look at me, and the other one run off, got out of the way, and the other one never would look at me. And I could have shot it, but I wouldn't do it on account it wouldn't look at me. It looked too much like a human to me. Broad shoulders, and arms hang down below his knees. Hands looked almost like a human. Well, I don't like to talk about it because people don't believe what you say, what you've seen. I don't like to be called a liar.
A liar.
Lure.
Nope.
So what's interesting about
So-
this is that's what all people from Louisiana sound like. If you couldn't understand him, you can barely understand anyone from there. Just so everyone knows,
Oh, there's a variety of
it's a certain accent down
difficult
there.
access down there, but yeah.
Mhm.
By the way, I love Louisiana.
I was like, I lived with these
fiend to
people.
go
That's
there all
why
the time.
that's why I know my dad has a Cajun accent, so I can understand this.
Everything from Cajun
Listen.
country to New Orleans is highly recommended by me.
Not by me, only by Bobby. Only Bobby. That is not a Jamie
All right.
recommendation. I hate the South. There's
I
too many
can't-
bugs.
I can't find a
Okay,
thing, but
that's
I did
enough.
give you a hand.
Yeah, that looks pretty similar to that.
That looks
cool
fucking
castle
nothing
stuff.
like it, Bobby. Fucking
It looks like a
nothing
partial.
like
It looks like a partial
Looks like
of
could
it.
be
Yeah.
partial.
Yeah, 100%.
No.
That looks identical to what a partial could be. It's just missing
You
the
just
thumb, and it
know.
only
But
got
here,
part of the
to be
finger.
fair, I don't see. I
Then you
didn't
could say
see
that with everything.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
not fair.
Hey, are
No.
you guys into like? Do you guys like? Are you
trash.
guys into palm reading? Can we do an episode on palm reading?
Yes,
anyone
Bobby,
that does that?
absolutely.
No.
I saw the
Yeah.
palm of that alligator, and it reminded me to ask you guys.
I
Yeah,
know
let's
that
do
I
it.
have the healer's mark and I have the witch's mark also on both of my palms. That's as much as I can tell you.
Mine
Healers
tells
and
me
witches on both.
See, I'm
mine
thirsty
tells
for
me
more.
mine tells me that I'm going to live a long time and not have any children, and I say thank you.
I hope mine says the
Uh,
same thing.
So that
So
was
too.
what's interesting about
For
the
the
Ted
both
Williams
of us.
story. What's great about the Ted Williams story, that gentleman we just watched on that same episode of In Search of with Leonard Nimoy, he claimed to have seen the creature many times. Again, he didn't shoot, he didn't kill them, even though he had the opportunity, because they looked too human-like, which again, it goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of the episode, is the swamp ape is generally seems to be described as an ape-like creature. However, in the case of the Honey Island swamp monster, that's two primary famous accounts of it describing it as human-like. Drink.
Can I say though, drink it?
Mm-hmm.
Drink it.
Ted Williams mysteriously disappeared.
Yes.
Ted Williams one day went out on his boat into the, ready for it, swamp.
I left it up, I think.
To check on some trout lines, and he was never seen again. He never came back out.
And you gotta be cognizant of, it's very quick for the brain to go to, oh, this is the guy known for seeing Sasquatches. So he turned up missing. So he must have been kidnapped and or killed by Sasquatches. Whereas like this monster is accredited a lot to like a lot of missing children cases.
And cattle mutilations. It seems to be like a little bit of a
Yes.
scapegoat for the area.
Yes. And I'm just like, it's the swamp. Like the swamp will kill you in various ways.
Right.
And you know what I mean? It's just like it's too easy to just be like, oh, it must have been the swamp monster. I'm
I was
like,
like,
bro, there's
exactly.
like malaria and fucking alligators out there,
So I was like, so something that people need to understand too, calling back to that very first story we were talking about, how like the only thing to survive were the apes. The reason they said something like that is because living in the like swampland is incredibly dangerous and hard. Not a lot of things live there. There's not necessarily a lot of wildlife. And if there is, it's constantly threatened every day by things like alligators and stuff. Like it's not, it's a very hostile environment. Like this isn't just somewhere you can show up and like camp for the fucking weekend.
Right. And it on that note, it is conducive to a Bigfoot-like creature in that sense, because
Very
we
much
always
so.
talk about like it's always like, the big argument is like they could be real because they live in the elusive backwoods where people never go, kind of thing. And the swamp is just as vast as far as accessibility goes compared to a lot of the areas of the Pacific Northwest. So it totally makes sense, if this was going to exist, that it would exist in a vast swampland where humans very rarely frequented. Bree, your thoughts?
Yeah.
I'm just very stuck on the fact that alligator palms look nothing like that cast. And I just really want you guys to know that.
Okay.
It's so different.
I'm sorry, but I have to. It's not that it's different. It's that I can see the similarities. So,
but we can see similarities with everything. But in this case, no. But only if you're like, oh, they lost a couple fingers, and then it
I didn't
like
say that it lost a
meshed
couple
together.
fingers. I said there's just a possibility that when they took this cast, and I'm not even saying that it's the alligator's fault. Okay, it could have been the human error that they purposely
it's the
only
alligator's
casted
fault for
So you don't think it's an actual Bigfoot
fooling the
palm?
human
You think
into
it's
thinking
alligators?
That
You're
looks
telling me
just
that cast was an alligator?
some sort of version of an alligator. Yeah.
Problem.
This is exactly.
No, we're
This is
not
exactly.
leaving till we get to the bottom of this here.
She's like, you're not leaving Cryptid Corner until
Look,
you agree with me.
There were literally, and I don't know the source of the photograph, but when I was researching this, I saw pictures of a shoe with a weird clawed foot attached to it, as if to say it was used in a hoax.
No. No.
We just broke your heart, Brie.
Mm-hmm.
It's so different, you guys. You have
I'm
to
just
realize.
saying. Well, maybe
so
it's two different types of alligators or something. Like it's just easier for me to think that that's
Why do you just?
realm.
I don't understand why you guys think this is just like an alligator thing. I'm so confused.
I just think that this print is
That
intuitive
cast is
of-
not.
Can we throw that print up on let's look at them right side by side if possible.
We can't do it side by side, but
All right, we'll go back and
What
forth.
about that
Here-
one? What about that
here's-
one?
here's
Look at that fat wide paw.
But here's the
Fuck.
thing, Bree. I think you need to understand. You just assume that we think that it's an alligator who stuck its hand in the mud and then they took a cast of it. That's not what I'm alluding to in the slightest. I do not think that this is a Honey Island monster. Okay, that cast. I think that is some version of some sort of an alligator that would be in that area, whether it's a partial. Because you have to think about it. What if it clomped its hand down and then something else came and stepped on it and cut it off and made it look that way? It's just it looks too similar to it could possibly be an alligator for me to care about anything else when it comes to that one. Go ahead, Bobby.
Can you show the cast, please?
She's
Yeah, I'm
trying,
to
but
get
she's
there.
struggling.
It's not
Okay,
working.
here's
I'll
my
do it. I'll do it.
here's my explanation of how I feel about that cast versus the picture of the alligator claw foot thing. Whether that cast is an alligator or not, I feel like jumping immediately to it being a webbed-footed Bigfoot of the South is a bit of a bridge too far to immediately go there. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I can't find it.
It's
I
only the
think
most
it's, like,
important piece of evidence
not
on
loading.
the episode we're featuring tonight.
Hold on, I'm gonna skip 2 and see if I can do it. Yeah, there's issues. Now the universe is against me. There we go. Yay!
There it is. Like, okay, let's go back. Let's look at this again. Let's
Come
pretend like
on, come
let's
on.
pretend like we've never seen this before in our life. We didn't even just have this conversation. Just looking at that.
Looking at that, I can give you my scientific analysis.
Okay. Okay, please do.
Because I am a scientist, if you guys didn't know. I'm world renowned from the Goat Institute of Sciences. So where the forearm meets is usually where the last fingerling would appear.
Fingerling.
But that is not the case. Yeah, the fingerling, the extremal fingerlings.
The digits.
This is the terminology that we use. I
Science.
apologize. Right?
Indubitably.
Indubitably. With a forearm is here.
I get what you're saying, but if you also notice, I think
5.
Okay, but here's the thing I also want to point out then that we all have to without a doubt say that there's no way that this looks like a footprint then. This doesn't look like what a foot would look like. This looks like an arm or like a longer extremity and not like a foot with like a solid behind. Like this looks like this cast has been cut off in the back.
Yes.
And maybe extended further. So why not? Could they have cut off part of the side to make it look like it's smaller than it was? That's what I'm alluding to, Bree.
And to be fair, it could be a partial cast of a real Honey Island
alligator
swamp monster. So I don't know. Well, all I'm saying is whether that's the cast of an alligator or Honey monster, swamp monster, Honey Island swamp monster, or something completely different.
God.
I don't rank Honey Island swamp monster as a likely possibility.
Yeah, I agree on that one.
Regardless of if it's an alligator or not.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay to disagree. That's why we have these conversations to try to find
I will say that I think that Jamie brought up an excellent point, which I had overlooked, and so did my scientific team.
That it doesn't look like a foot.
Like a forearm and not a foot. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like that's why I'm saying like
that'd be a long foot and then weird webbed toes. Although, yeah,
Bree pans over and there's like beakers and Bunsen burners.
Like the foot just doesn't make sense with the size of what it would be. Like none of that makes sense.
God damn. Although at the same time, I mean, it's just human footness. I mean, could the bed of the foot be so long and then the toes be short and wide? I don't know if it would.
The natives.
I don't know if it would.
The natives?
The fuck? I didn't do that.
I just saw that in there. Someone just uploaded something that just says the natives. So
I uploaded it, but not to be used for right now.
Can we make that
It needs to be, yeah. So I was like,
we make that a
need
regular
It
thing? Because we do
Yeah, it
talk
needs
about that
to
a
be.
lot. So we used
a
to be like,
lot.
That's why I put
every
that in
time we
there.
bring
But
up
in that
native lore,
case,
you're gonna flash
Sorry.
that
it didn't
Sorry.
work for the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
and play like a flute with drums.
Okay, there's so
Yeah.
many pictures of natives. I was
Wait.
like, how do we draw the line of being offensive?
Just
Oh,
just
hate
throw up
crime.
the Cleveland Indians logo.
Exactly.
That's like, where do we draw the line of offensive and getting our point across? Anyways, I wonder if there is a cryptid where the foot bed looks like a forearm.
We'll have
But
to
it's
look
a
into
foot.
that.
It's a bed of a foot and its fingers. And you guys are just really, really critical of what a foot should look like.
So
I'm foot shaming.
It's not fair.
okay, guys. Before we get into sci-fi, factor sci-fi, I just want to kind of go over the plethora of I mean, it works nicely with this actually. I want to go over the plethora of skepticism in regards to the Honey Island swamp monster.
Drink.
Cheater. He didn't say it. He's a cheater. Oh, no, you did. Oh, God, my bad.
did.
My bad.
I'm gonna drink
Yeah.
either way. So there's skeptics such as Robbie Charbonnet. I don't know how they pronounce it down there in the swamplands.
Charbonnet. You've been there.
He runs nature tours in the area. We were talking about that a little earlier. One theory is that these legends kind of spring up to keep outsiders out of hunting areas, preventing people from finding moonshine stills. Why is that rare?
There's no fucking moonshine by me.
Oh, okay. Right on. I was just curious. And then according to this pretty interesting article, it's probably the most thorough article I found on this, Darcy Nadel from exemplar.com/cryptids/ the Honey Island Swamp Monster Bayou Bigfoot. As with any cryptid, many people have investigated and found no reason to believe the Honey Island Swamp Monster exists, and every reason to believe otherwise. Joe Nickel, a prominent paranormal investigator, investigated Ford's footage and declared it as a Patterson knockoff, referring to the course of the famous Sasquatch footage. Suggests that the reason Ford did not reveal the footage's existence during his lifetime is because of its dubious quality. So we kind of, Jamie, you kind of alluded to that earlier. Nickel says that some of the film was suspiciously missing, and also points out that it is quite the coincidence Ford managed to capture footage of the Honey Island Swamp Monster within the limited time available on a Super 8 film. So I'm going to cut up ahead a little bit. So who just coughed? It was very masculine.
I have a ghost. I'm sorry.
All right. To sum up, there are the men's suspiciously repeated sighting reports and alleged track discoveries, together with the incongruent mixing of Bigfoot-type creature and the most un-Bigfoot-like feet. Bree. Plus, the fact that preferred evidence is not only of the type that could easily be faked, but has often been. In addition, the men claims exist in the context of swamp manimal mythology and has numerous elements in folklore and fiction. Taken together, the evidence suggests a common hoax.
Hoaxy McHoax.
So I hope I
don't
didn't throw a
believe
wrench in the gear of anyone's
No.
feelings on fact or sci-fi, but I thought that it was worth noting that there's a lot of debunking attempts with this one.
This one.
seems.
And like I said,
Which
it also
should
seems
give you
like
a
they have a lot of explanations for all of these debunkings as well. And that's something that we talked about in this episode. It's like every time you have a question about something, they have some sort of rebuttal as to why that no, but this is why. And that to me is just very indicative of like kind of bullshit. Like usually when you have answers for everything, it's because it's calculated and you know what you're going to say. But most of the people say, when they say like, they don't say definitive statements when you're more talking about when they're being more truthful. It's like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck I saw. You know, it just
Hold
seems
on,
to
wait,
me.
no.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
No. Because the comeback statements are the rebuttal to how it could be.
Yes,
It's not how it could be, which is, and that, like, normally when people are like, oh, this could be why, and then they're saying no, all the no reasons are over the reasons for yes, which would be the opposite. Like, I
Wait,
would get
start
what
over.
you're saying, but so like all the things that they're saying, like this is why and this is why, it's explaining away the subject. It's not explaining how it actually could happen. It's explaining how it's not possible.
Right.
Right. So like,
But
why
does that in and of itself discredit reasons to do that? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, because I
like
think what
I
Jamie's
get what
trying
you're
to say is
saying, but it's
usually
like,
when there's like all these reasons why is usually just because they're trying to counteract something. They're trying to like make up an explanation.
sure.
So it's like the opposite kind of what she's saying.
I'm trying to put it all together in my brain right now. I like it though.
Like if there were no reasons for, so I'm saying like there's little evidence and then there's lots of reasons why it's not possible.
Mm-hmm.
Opposed to reasons why it is possible.
Sure. But I guess it's not even a rebuttal, it's just an honest question though, is like, just because that is a part of figuring out whether it is or isn't possible, does that automatically discredit that approach to, of course, when you're trying to say this isn't possible, you're going to list off reasons why this probably isn't possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying like, that's kind of like what skeptics, their whole goal is, right? Is to laundry list reasons why it's not possible.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have my feelings about it, but it's like, you know, I know what you're saying. Brie. I'm just, a little bit of playing devil's advocate.
I'm just trying to say that, like, Jamie's reasoning was that there's so much saying why it's not possible. There's so many explanations for that, which is why she believes it.
I got you. Okay.
Oh, well, I think that's a perfect segue into saying what we should sci-fi middle bitch or fact this. And I'll go first since you're alluding to think I know why. I'm actually going to hardcore middle bitch this right in the middle 5 because I believe in Bigfoot, but I'm having a very hard time swallowing the Honey Island swamp monster pill in relation to that. And I like Bobby's idea where he was alluding to earlier when he was saying that he actually wants to distance the two and more, you know, he's more inclined to Bigfoot, not necessarily to this. And I kind of agree, which I think is a perfect middle bitch for me, because I think that there's a possibility that a Bigfoot could be in that area, but I don't necessarily believe that it's like a weird 3-toed Bigfoot that kills, you know, babies and cows or whatever.
Brie,
oh my God,
if you sci-fi this, I'm going to be very, very disappointed.
Yeah, go ahead, Brie.
I'm going to middle bitch this one.
Okay. That's fine. That's very reasonable.
Because I think that it is plausible for a Bigfoot to be in that area and to have those reptilian aquatic-like feet. Because if this is just in the framework of if a Bigfoot is real, then said Bigfoot would acclimate itself and its body to the environment in which it's living in.
I agree.
And if that's where it's living, then it should have those types of feet. It makes sense to me. So if we're pretending that Bigfoot is real, then I will change my opinion and say fact that
I love the sentence, if we're pretending that Bigfoot is real.
That's why I say middle bitch, because I'm still.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like middle bitch is the safe one on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still on the fence about Bigfoot, but if Bigfoot is real, then I totally buy this. I think that, like I said, it would have to acclimate to its environment, and this is the perfect type of specimen in which a Bigfoot would present himself as.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm gonna go a straight 5 as well for different and similar reasons.
Wow.
I agree
Shocked.
with pretty much everything you guys just said. It really just boils down to, and I know this is kind of a cop out that I say a lot of times at least, but here's the thing. I don't know if the lore of the specific Honey Island swamp monster, the anecdotes and accounts that that formed that legend and the descriptions of this creature, extracted from that legend. I'm really skeptical about a lot of that. However, because I am 80-20 on Sasquatch existing in general, I lean more towards yes.
I thought you were like 90. I thought you were like 95.5.
We'll see what happens
Like
at the end as this show evolves on. I don't know. I just don't know. I'm pretty 80-20 about a lot of things, to be honest. It's a good middle.
It's a good solid, yeah.
Yeah. It's like not a fence sitter, but it's also not. Anyway.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I think that assuming that 80% that I believe Sasquatch is real, I do believe within that 80% I believe is real. There's no reason not to agree that there is a Sasquatch-like creature in the swamps of Louisiana and Florida and Georgia and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
That said, that's why I land on a solid 5. Honey Island Swamp Monster and all of its little unique attributes, that puts me in the middle, bitch. But the fact that I accept the existence of a Sasquatch-like creature in the South, I'm going to go solid middle, bitch.
I think that's our first episode where we've all agreed
middle bitch.
We're all a solid, pretty middle bitch on this one, and I like it.
I thought I turned to fact. I feel like I turned to fact.
I felt this whole episode you were like gonna go for fact.
Yeah, I did too. Honestly, I thought you were really fighting.
That's what I was like. If you sci-fi
Mm.
this, I'm gonna be very caught off guard.
Upset. Yeah, it's a good episode though. I just want to. I just want to say
off the feels, and that's how I roll.
Before we wrap up here, I do want to tell everyone in the audience that next week we are doing leprechauns for Bobby's Cryptid Corner in lieu of the holiday that is next week. That is St. Patrick's Day.
Lit.
And then the week after,
ever seen.
Yeah, and then the week after we have Connor Bigfoot Anon, who's going to come on and talk to us about his Bigfoot experiences. So we're much excited for those. So you guys have those to look forward to on Bobby's Cryptid Corner. So we will see you guys next week. We love you all. Goodbye.
Bye. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.